Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mary, and together we own Natural Plus Nursery in Clear Lake, Iowa.
We are your favorite backyard nursery, serving North Iowa since 1978. We sell trees, shrubs, and perennials and love sharing our seasonal family business with our kids and you.
Here you'll learn about the plants you buy from us, how to care for them, and never before told behind the scenes look at our lives as nursery owners. This is the dirt from Natural Plus. Here we grow. Hello, welcome to The Dirt with Natural Plus Nursery. I'm Mary Hopper, and I have a guest here today, Johanna. She is our vendor from one of the nurseries that we have gotten trees, shrubs, perennials from for probably 47 years, a long, long time. And so I brought Johanna here today to answer some of our pressing questions, the questions that we are curious about with the plants and what to plant and where to plant and why we want to plant certain things and all the things. So we're going to jump in today. Johanna, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Good morning, Mary. Thanks everyone for watching or listening. My name is Johanna George, and I'm a territory sales rep with Bailey Nurseries. Bailey Nurseries celebrated 120 years in business in 2025. It's a family-owned business, much like Natural Plus, headquartered in St. Paul, Minnesota. We have growing operations across 5 states, and we're a wholesale nursery. So we're doing breeding work from the ground up and supply garden centers, nurseries, landscapers, and other growers with anywhere from starter material all the way through finished product that the homeowner is ready to take and install. I've been in the industry over 20 years, mostly at retail garden centers, and a huge background in design, and joined Bailey Nurseries in 2024 as a sales rep. So excited to join you today, Mary, and talk plants.
I'm also excited. You have been a wealth of knowledge for us. We've learned so much from you just in the 2 years that we've gotten to know you. So thank you for that already. And I can't wait to share this knowledge with our customers and our friends who are listening or watching today. I would love for you to tell me, I'm sure that you get the question so much about plant combinations. What to plant with what, and how do I know, and what likes to grow next to each other, what sustainability wise, maybe it's important to plant things. I hear in the garden, like I think there's some kind of flower that you plant next to carrots and that makes them grow better. And so I'm sure that there are plant combinations that do better and well together. So I would love to hear kind of your favorite combinations or how you share about that with customers, and maybe you can convince me to try some new things for this year.
This is a great topic in general because it can be looked at two ways. We can look at it from an ornamental standpoint of what's going to look good together, what complements each other, what can take the look of that landscape to another level. And then on the other end of things, we can talk about the sustainability, the symbiotic relationship. Um, I'm not a complete plant nerd when it comes to exact what benefits, what root system, or oh, this increases these soil microbes, and this plant wants to benefit off of that. But in general, we can look at, oh, if we plant this perennial that gets a lot of pollinator activity next to another plant that is always pressured by aphids or garden pests, we can maybe find some common ground to benefit each other. For instance, a lot of late season blooming perennials, you'll see those little two-line soldier beetles on. This is something I see in my garden all the time. Vegetable garden, flower garden, two-line soil soldier beetles. And at first you're like, oh, is this a good thing? Is this a beneficial insect? And when you realize what it is, You then see it's eating aphids off all the milkweed in late summer. It's eating aphids off of rose bushes. So those beetles will show up where there's something else happening in the garden. And a lot of times they'll feed on late season Joe Pye weed or Heliopsis, things that are pollinator attractants in the late summer and fall, but they're there and they'll kind of solve a second problem for us. So to kind
Again,
of keep
nature,
going,
super smart.
nature, exactly. So I think diversification is very, very important. You know, and it kind of the other end of the spectrum is having plants that bring in host diseases or problems. So kind of a twofold thing, but in plant combinations, you know, getting pollinators to our vegetable area. So whether that's using trees, shrubs, perennials planted around our orchards and our vegetable gardens, or if you know, want to increase them in flower areas or whatever, it's thinking about your timing and thinking about your bloom cycles. And this crosses over completely to the ornamental side of things. We all want color in our gardens all the time. So thinking about what's going to bloom in the spring, what's going to bloom in the summer, what's going to bloom in the fall, what's going to give us winter interest, and how we can overlap that so we kind of constantly have color and interest going in the garden. And with color, again, on the ornamental side of things, I think we all remember like color wheels from school and those complementing and opposite colors, like how good purples look with yellow, oranges, and reds, or, you know, cooling or calming down a warm tone. So pairing, you know, a salvia and a daylily, something so simple, but those two colors and layering them in the garden so we get warm and cool, we get contrasting colors, plus then we also get extended bloom with a salvia starting in May, coming through the 4th of July, that daylily starting in June, and possibly carrying on later. So consider that with all plant groups, trees, shrubs. I always think about trees and how we want to start with the earliest color possible and how can we continue later. So crab apples, lilacs, floating into Japanese tree lilacs, and all of a sudden we've had bloom out in the yard from sometime in April all the way through potentially June, depending on what, you know, the wind and the
Right.
rain and Mother Nature does, because
Yes.
we all have
Yes.
experienced that. But, you know, we do our best, and then crossing over to what's going to produce some fruit for us for interest. And again, is it supporting wildlife habitat or the birds or whatever? So getting those to kind of cross over. Another thing with plant combinations is you can create an environment that you want. So it may take time, but you can create, you know, if it's a new development or someone, they had to take down 4 big ash trees and now they're starting over. You can create shade in your garden. You can find pockets of sunlight by either moving things or transplanting things. So remember that you can create these plant combos or create a garden from the ground up too. You don't have to be stuck with what you inherit on a property or what you think needs to be there. And I think coming also from the design world, I talked about like opposite colors. There's a lot happening right now with tone on tone. So like burgundy foliage or like sage green, soft silver foliage. And you know, I might use some plant varieties here like an iceberg alley sage leaf willow is kind of a silvery gray leaf. And how great that looks with a burgundy, but also how neat to put a little blue stem grass with that, or a silver mound artemisia that's so similar with that, and playing tone on tone on tone, something that's kind of blue, gray, silver, and 3 or 4 different plant groups and putting them together. So yeah, plant combinations from the ornamental or aesthetic value, and plant combinations to support whatever your goal is, if that's pollination or you know, suppression of disease in the garden or attracting pollinators. This is a kind of a big can of worms. And
This
honestly, I
is a
wish
big
I
topic.
it is. And I wish I understood, and maybe I'll make that one, 20, we're early in 2026 here for me. So maybe it could be one of my goals this year to understand a little bit more of when you plant this happens. We've all heard, oh, plant marigolds around your garden and
That's what
rabbits
it
won't
is.
go
Yes,
into them,
marigolds.
sort of.
Yep.
Yeah. And marigolds have a ton of benefits in general. And they're such an old school plant,
Mhm.
but obviously there's always new varieties and fun stuff. But there's a lot of relationships between what happens in the garden, what you're attracting in the garden or the yard, what happens when you have a lot of turf versus, gardens that are just soil, gardens that are mulched. That changes the environment, that changes what you're inviting into the garden, good and bad. I'll say that. But there's a lot and more research and time going into understanding what's happening below ground and above ground. But the ornamental part of it, from coming from a garden center perspective, and obviously we sell so many beautiful ornamental plants, but also really functional, landscape standards. It's so fun to think about the timing, the blooms, the color, and that's what a lot of breeding work goes into is, oh, it's a different color. This is a foliage we haven't had before. Oh, this is hardier than we've ever had of this species. And so it's always fun and it's always changing. And 2025, all of us lost plants in the yard. And I choose to look at that as an opportunity to try something new, try something different. It does suck. Like
Mhm.
it's understandable that it's unfortunate. However, otherwise I would run out of space. You know what I mean?
It's an opportunity, if you ask me.
That's right. That's exactly what I think too. And push the boundaries and see what you like in your yard, and don't be afraid to cull something if it's not for you or it's not performing the way you thought it would. Um and try something, and you can always dig it up and move it if you need to. I think that's the fun part of gardening and the fun part of new plants on the market. And yeah,
Yeah, a
that's
couple
my
things that came to me when you were talking. I can tell you love this this topic because you're like totally lit up, and I am too. I'm like feeding off your energy. It
see, you
feels
get
so good.
exciting. Yeah,
So the
excited.
first thing is if you have a blank slate, say you bought a house, the first thing you want to think about is, like you said, the shade, what you want for bigger trees. We always tell people you want or evergreens if you need a windbreak or if you need some kind of natural fence, or we want to think about the big things first. And then we move to the shrubs and the perennials. And that's at least how we guide our customers to really think, because sometimes we need to do it in stages because it can get very overwhelming. And that's the second thing. When you come to the nursery and you do feel overwhelmed because you don't have the knowledge that you wish that you had about the plants, how to take care of them, where they're going to grow, that's why we're here to help you with that. And it's supposed to be fun. You mentioned playing and fun. And when you were talking about color combinations, I was like imagining the semi coming in a couple months with all these beautiful colors next to each other and the smells and just imagining that gets me so excited for spring to be here. And that is the point of all of this. We are doing it to help the environment, yes, but to create these spaces in our yards, in our home environment that make us feel good and that make us
Yes.
happy. And so if this is overwhelming, if thinking about what to plant, where to plant, how to care for it feels overwhelming, we need to take a few steps back and ask ourselves, how do we make this fun? And I think you're spot on by playing with the different combinations of colors and textures is another piece of a plant that we don't often think about. But when you were talking about that soft like sage green of the alley plant, the iceberg alley plant, and then the the grass that you were saying, the sedge, I think, is that what you said?
Stem, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's going to be pokier and have a
Very tough.
different
Yeah.
texture than the soft. And so those two colors are it you get to play. And I do encourage you to come out to Natural Plus Nursery and you can move the plants. We have carts that you can take and you can put the plants on the cart and put them next to each other so that you can see what color combinations feel good to you. And some everyone has a different opinion. That's another piece of it. We all like different things. And so what I like, you might not like. And that's another thing we always ask people. I want you to walk around the nursery and point out the things that stick out to you that you really are attracted to, because it might be different than what I'm attracted to, but I can help you find things that are going to complement those plants that you really love and want in your yard. And then, of course, we need to make sure that they're going to be planted in the correct place, get enough sun, the soil, and all the things. But that's why we're here, and
That's
that's what we can help you with.
absolutely. That is such great advice, Mary. And many people are overwhelmed when they show up to the nursery or the garden center, but set some boundaries for yourself. Say, hey, we're going to see about 2 trees today. Don't feel like you have to do it all at once. Get there, tell them you're looking, you're going to look around, get your bearings once you're comfortable in at the nursery where things are. See what catches your eye, and then work with a sales associate and say, I like the way that this looks. And they'll probably, practice some active listening with you. Like, what I'm hearing you say is you're looking for a shade tree. You like the way this looks. This is the color you're going for. This is the space you have to work with. And that's how you get together and make really good decisions. Plants are an investment. We've talked about that plants are an investment. So we don't just want to willy-nilly, buy something, take it home, may or may not work out too, but take the time to explore. And we know that most people enjoy gardening in their yards. This is supposed to be an extension of your home space. This is your feel-good space. Gardening is not supposed to be work. It is
Well,
some work.
physical
It's
work.
we all know that have been in this industry for a long time how much work it really
Yeah.
is, but it is so it's fulfilling work is
The
I think
best
what
type
it
of work.
is. It is the best type of work. Exactly. Yep. And you're creating an environment for you, your kids, your family, the birds, the bees, everybody. So yeah, absolutely. Yep.
This was such a great conversation. I'm going to have you back if you're open. I'm
Thanks,
sure there
Mary.
will be more as the
Appreciate.
season starts. We're going to have more questions for you. But for now, that was
Yes, of course.
thank you for your time and your energy. And I can tell that you're really passionate about what you do, and that's inspiring.
Yeah, same. Thanks to you and Dave. You guys have a beautiful place there. It's a joy to come and see you every time I visit. And we hope to continue to provide you with quality plant material and be an extended resource for you.
Thank you. And listener, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to The Dirt from Natural Plus Nursery. If you dug this episode, subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss a tip, sale, or a behind the scenes look at our nursery business. Happy planting!